What's good, fam? Before we dive into this wild ride, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your crew. Drop a comment too, because I've got questions and I know y'all are going to have some thoughts after this one. Trust me, it's a trip. So here's the deal. Stumbled across an old clip the other day. Nothing new, about 3 years old. Buried in the peak pandemic archives, but somehow it hits harder. Now, especially after what went down this past Easter, the timing is almost too perfect. You know, when irony just walks in the room and smacks you across the face? That's this clip. What Tiffany says in it. Couldn't script this stuff if you tried. Tonight we're rolling it back. Taking a deep dive into a moment that aged like spoiled milk served in a golden cup. Let's set the scene. It's 2021 full-on Zoom era. Back when nobody knew how to mute themselves, and everybody looked like pixelated potatoes floating in little Brady Bunch squares. The vibes were awkward, glitchy, and heavy. And then you've got Tiffany Henyard, one to miss her spotlight, deciding she's got an urgent message for the village. Of course, she wasn't going to let the moment slip. No, she jumps on camera, grainy webcam and all, to deliver what she calls a formal announcement. And even through that fuzzy feed, the energy was thick. She came in hot, like she was about to break national news. Her big message. Board of Trustees and residents, I need everyone to understand there is no trespassing at the old village hall. She hit the word trespassing like it was nuclear security clearance. The way she said it, you'd think the Pentagon had just been breached, or maybe someone hijacked the White House lawn. Then came the kicker. Tiffany claimed she'd been getting disturbing reports. According to her, someone had been sneaking into the old village hall without clearance, and Tiffany, she wasn't having it. She laid it out crystal clear. Didn't matter if you were a resident, a trustee, a former employee, or just a curious bystander. Step foot inside without permission, and you were in violation. No loopholes, no excuses. And then she asked the question, how did they even get the access code? Boom, that's when it clicked. This wasn't about protecting a building, this was about control. Tiffany was flexing her authority for everyone to see. And she didn't stop there. Nope. She cranked the drama up to 11, announced that anyone caught inside would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. She made it sound like wandering into that dusty old hall was equivalent to grand larceny or election fraud. At first you might think, okay, maybe she's just protecting property. But then came the twist. Tiffany dropped a bomb. Someone had allegedly spotted a former employee of the village of Dalton strolling around in uniform. Yeah, not only trespassing, but impersonation. That's when things shifted from suspicious to straight up bizarre. She claimed that if you don't work there anymore, but still wear the village gear, that's not just shady, it's criminal. She actually used the phrase impersonating a government employee. Like she was auditioning for Law and Order, small town unit, and the person she was pointing the finger at, someone she had personally fired just months after taking power in 2021. That was Tiffany's thing back then. Rolling heads and flipping Dalton upside down. So now, imagine this. A guy who hasn't worked there in years allegedly shows up in an embroidered polo. And Tiffany reacts like he's trying to run a shadow government out of the rec center. She looked dead into the camera, eyes sharp, chest puffed, and declared, once you've been fired, you no longer work for the village of Dalton. Period. End of story. Except, fast forward to this past Easter. Guess who's out front of the village building, handing out food, smiling for pictures, and addressing a crowd like she's still the one in charge? Yep, Tiffany herself. Not the mayor, not the supervisor, not even a paid intern at this point. But there she is, grinning at the podium like it's opening night of her community theater play. Passing out food she didn't buy, standing under banners she doesn't control, cosplaying leadership. So let me get this straight. When somebody else wears village gear, it's a crime. But when Tiffany does it, it's tradition. If a fired employee throws on a polo, it's impersonation. But if Tiffany does it, it's leadership? Girl, no, that's cosplay. She dusted off the Super Mayor costume for an encore performance. And the irony doesn't stop there. Think back to her face on that old Zoom call, dead serious, eyes burning like she was laying down the Constitution. That speech wasn't about public safety. It wasn't professionalism. It was raw control. Don't forget what else was going on. In 2021, either her situation with Kamal was crumbling, and maybe, just maybe, that fired employee was getting attention she wasn't ready to share. Because here's the thing. When you mix political power with personal drama, it always blows up. Now she's the one breaking her own rules. She's the one saying you can't wear the logo, can't stand near the building, can't represent the villagette. She's out here doing every single one of those things. So what's the moral of the story? Tiffany says it's law. Give it 3 years it'll age like spoiled milk, fam. Let's talk. Because every single rule Tiffany Henyard ever threw down, she's the first one to break, publicly, boldly. Like it's opposite day, and nobody told the rest of us. What are we even looking at here? A woman who makes rules just to toss them out when they get in her way. Tiffany set the standard, and then stomped all over it on camera in front of everybody. The hypocrisy, loud. The ego, even louder. And the irony, deafening. But let's bring it home. Is Tiffany just being petty? Is this a full-blown power trip? Or is there something deeper bubbling behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know y'all got theories. Smash that like button if you caught the hypocrisy. Subscribe if you haven't, and send this to someone who remembers when she actually had a job. Now, Tiffany, ma'am, weren't you the one screaming about how once you're fired you can't be rocking village gear? Well, allow me to return the favor. You're fired, officially unemployed. You're not running a board, not running an office, not even planning the block party. Yet somehow, you're still out here acting like the Queen of Betton. And while we're here, we need to talk about the makeup. Girl, it's giving traffic cone. That foundation is loud like 8 coats of neon orange in July at high noon loud. We're still doing this? That's not a blend. That's a battle. You're not glowing, you're melting. It's not public service, it's drag brunch inside a toaster oven. And baby, you're the main act. Let's be real. If the foundation is this distracting, the message is already lost. With Tiffany, the performance never stops. But the glam? Woo! It's struggling! And while we're spilling the tea, let's address the cosplay. Anise been telling folks that impersonating a village official after being fired is a criminal offense. You've been cosplaying mayor and supervisor for how long now? Is this local government or is this Comic-Con? You said the law applies to everyone. So when exactly does it start applying to you? Speaking of cosplay, let's pivot to the wig. Allegedly, Tiffany dropped a full $1,000 on it. Yeah, $1,000 for that. And what did we get? Wig? That looks like it was built out of packing tape, dollar store yarn, and a desperate prayer. The color? Trying for blonde but landing somewhere between dishwater beige and disappointment. It's not executive realness. It's Pinterest fail. And Tiffany, weren't you bragging about cosmetology school? Because if that's true, I've got questions. That lace front isn't laying down anything but stress. Anything but stress. If you really dropped $1,000 on that hairpiece, you didn't buy a style, you bought a warning label. Ain't it screaming louder than your speeches? But hey, Tiffany never misses an entrance, even if the entrance comes with a full-blown wig. Crisis. But let's circle back, because underneath the roast, there's a serious issue. Tiffany, you're not the mayor, you're not the supervisor, you don't even have a title anymore. And yet, you're still out here at events, standing in front of government buildings, handing out donated food, posing for cameras, pretending like you're still calling the shots. This past Easter, you showed up like it was a triumphant comeback. Baby, that wasn't a comeback. That was a costume change. You're not running a villager, running your mouth. And let's not forget the hypocrisy. Flipped out. Back in 2021 because someone dared to wear a Dalton hoodie like it was a national security breach. Please, they were probably just cashing their last check. But you've been running around in unofficial gear for years, talking like you still run the board. And since we're already in prophecy mode, let's rewind real quick. June 7th, 2020, 1 year in power. Fast forward to March 2024. Boom. Gone. Just like that. The very person you tried to bury. Thriving. Meanwhile, you're still clinging to a title and a wig that should have been retired 5 scandals ago. And now you're talking about building. An ice rink? Naming it after your daughter? Girl, that's not legacy. That's vanity. This isn't Rome. You're not building monuments. You're building embarrassment. The makeup. Too much. The wig. Full-on emergency. In this super mayor act. Tired? But here's the twist. This story doesn't have to end this way. You could stop the delusions. Stop pretending. Stop spinning scandals into fairy tales. Because right now, Tiffany, you're not running the show. You're running out of time, and that clock, oh, it's ticking. Alright, y'all, I'm done for real this time. Before I go, smash that like button, subscribe, share this video. If you're feeling generous, hit that join button to support the channel. It keeps the tea hot and the jokes sharp. Take care of yourselves, and Tiffany, please, for all our sakes, take care of that wig. We're begging.